of the muscle back into your bloodstream, into circulation, so that you clear out the byproducts of exercise and you feel better. You also get stability, so it minimizes vibration. If you have a sore calf, or even an Achilles tendon, or shin splints, or a sore IT band, these garments are tremendously helpful. And these are little tweaky things that I think everybody experiences at some point when they're training for a marathon. So you can start with the cap sleeves or the socks if you just want to pick up something it tends to be a little bit more pricey than some other garments, and just see how you like that. The caps take one of the most beatings when you're running, and they also have the most blood and lactic acid pooling in them because they're the closest to the ground, right? So they have the most effect from gravity. You can buy full-length tights, you can buy compression shorts, they even make tops, arm sleeves. I've had some really bad problems with hamstring tears, and I've worn compression shorts with a lot of success. You can wear them while you're running, and you can also wear them as recovery. So when you come home from a really long run and you have that sort of achy, burny feeling, if you take your ice bath or a cold shower and you throw on compression tights for recovery, it'll actually help your muscles to recover faster. So if you don't like running in really tight stuff, you can use it that way for recovery. That's biodynamic fit. So that simply means that if you're going to wear something really tight, you don't want it to be as tight across your stomach as maybe you do on your calf. So they actually knit them differently, so they're tight where you need them to be tight. So they're more comfortable and they stay up. And then finally we have a marathon checklist. Some other quick things that I didn't highlight. You might want to pick up some Body Glide for chafing. Chafing is where water and friction meet. So you definitely get more chafing with cotton. That's another reason not to wear it. But the more you're out there running, the longer you're running, you might get some like red raspberry spots. So Body Glide is great for that. It's also great for your feet. And a quick note to women about sports bras. This is another really big conversation. It's just as important equipment as your shoes. And they wear out. They stretch out. If you wash them, over and over and over again, the elastic starts to give, the support isn't as good, you start to get really bad chafing problems, and you really want to have good support. So the recommendation there is when you buy a new pair of shoes, get rid of your oldest bra and replace it with a new one. And the fit is really important here too, and as you're training, that may change. Your size may change, so it's something to keep in mind. And again, I can't stress this enough, it's just as important as your footwear. Like, nobody sees it, you don't want to buy a new one, it's not fun, it's not pretty, but it's definitely something to take a minute to get the right fit. So are we doing questions after?
Yeah, we're going to hold, because we've got to get to our coaches, but thank you. All right, so now you've carved out the time, you know how to eat, you know how to dress to look good. We're going to talk now about training. And Scott is going first, lead coach Scott. I hope you've all had a chance to meet Scott at the workouts and had some conversations with him. He's great. We're really glad he joined us this year. And we're going to give an overview of the whole, what's now 4 months left in our training program. And then Coach Glenn is going to talk a little bit more specifically about what's to come, especially on our Wednesday nights when we get into what we're calling quality runs, which will cover speed workouts, hill workouts. I know we've gotten a lot of questions of, when are we doing that? We're going to do it soon. So, Scott?
I'm actually going to stay seated if you don't mind. The training plans, as you look at them, you get the emails every week that has beginner, intermediate, and experience. We kind of tried to guide you to start on where you should follow for the plan. Our program's a little different than what you'll find online, where each plan is standalone. The coaches got together before we started the season and really created a beginner training plan to get those individuals who are just getting into distance running, either coming off the couch or have done a couple 5Ks, and get them started. The intermediate plan, those individuals who've run a couple half marathons, maybe have done a marathon, want to focus a little more on their time and be a little better prepared for what their goal is. And the experience plan, those individuals coming in having completed a marathon and really having time goals and looking to kind of go to the next level. So on the runs that we have as a team, our Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, you'll sometimes notice intermediate and experience might be running the same distance, or intermediate and beginner might be the same distance. That's because each plan is a standalone. So don't get too kind of worried about if you're running with another group that day. The plans, when they're created, we basically work off 3 big groups. Building a base of running. The base going off the beginner's plan, is essentially your first 8 weeks. That's where we started at 5 miles for our long run, got up to 10 miles, real kind of slow progression. The 10-mile run is coming up in, I believe, 3 weeks. And that's a real slow progression, get the body used to what your form is, what you need nutrition-wise, what you need clothing-wise, as well as slowly let the body adapt to what running is, what muscle groups you're using, and how you're using them. After that, we go into more of a strength-style program where we're going to build our mileage up, and as we do it, we're also going to work on a lot of our quality runs, building up different pace, getting your muscles used to going a little faster pace. Your recovery runs are suddenly going to actually be a little slower than your Wednesday runs and your Thursday runs are. And the reason for that is now your body's used to the running, it knows how to recover, you realize the importance of rest, so now we can start building the strength that you're going to need to get through the marathon. The very kind of tail end of the strength chunk is a 3-week buildup of what I like to call just pure distance. That's when we're going to be doing the 18 and 20 mile run for the beginner program. The intermediate program does a 20 and a 22 mile run, and the experienced group does a 20, a 20, and then a 22. That is, once you start getting over 17, 18 miles, depending on what you're reading literature-wise, the physiological benefit, it depends on who you're talking to on if you need to do a 17, an 18, or a 20. But the second part of it is a marathon's psychological as well. And working kind of as a coaching group, we determine how far can we push the body but yet stay healthy and gain that psychological benefit as well as the little bit of physiological benefit that you're getting once you get into the 20-mile runs. So that's why the beginner, you will have an 18 and a 20. The intermediate, you'll have the 20 and go to 22, and the experienced, you'll have the 3 long runs. After that, it's a 3-week taper. The reason for the taper is let the body recover. You've kind of gone through, at that point, 18 weeks of tearing apart the muscles, tearing apart the body, let it rebuild, let it recover, tear it up, recover. Now we're on a 3-week taper. That 3-week taper is why you'll hear about marathon pace. Our long runs are not quite marathon pace. So you're asking, how, if I do 20 miles at one pace, how can I do 26 at a faster pace? The reason for that is you have 3 weeks of recovery. Those 3 weeks, you're going to want to run far more than the schedule has on there. Your body's going to be ready to go. You're psychologically going to be ready to go. But it's time to let the body fully recover, let it rest, and come back. The days of the week themselves, as you've sort of gotten the routine now, Mondays are your recovery days. That's when you're kind of getting rid of the junk that's built up in your muscles from your long run from the week before. It's your chance to get out there, get some easy miles in. The terminology we use is slow fasci. Start out slow, get a little faster, but you're always staying easy. And if you're going on kind of an effort scale, you're starting at a 3, working up to maybe a 5 or a 6, and coming back down to a 1. Your Monday runs, you should literally end at pretty much a walk when you finish. Your Tuesdays, ignoring the experience for a moment, it's your rest day. Rest is super important. That's when your body recovers and prepares for the next run. Wednesdays, I'm going to skip over for now, as Glenn's going to really get detailed on that. Thursdays, again, slow fasci, kind of that chance, you're putting some more mileage on your body, you're building up your muscles a little bit and getting used to that routine, however, you're not doing any major significant damage. Fridays, you're resting because Saturdays are ultimately what's one of the most important runs we do, and that's the long run. Focus on your long run is to complete the distance, and ideally complete it as close to the prescribed pace that we'll get into, and Glenn will get into a little bit more, as well as comfortably and healthy. So if that means you have to back off a run during the week to make sure you can get your long run in successfully, do it. And Sunday is our flex day. The flex day is listen to your body. On any given Sunday, every person in this room will be doing something different. If you're feeling great after Saturday's run, your weekday runs are going well, go out and do the prescribed miles that are on the schedule comfortably and easy. If you're feeling a little beat up, but yet you're not feeling overly exhausted, overly worn out, do some cross training. Cycling is great, going for a long walk is great, swimming is fantastic if you have a pool that you have access to. If you're feeling really beat up, Saturday it was a struggle. take Sunday off. Use Sunday as your rest day, that way Monday you're coming back in, ready to do that recovery run, ready to get after it. We can talk a little more specifics on it. The one important thing, as everyone sort of mentioned, nutrition-wise, keep a log. Clothing-wise, shoes, keep a log. Running-wise, keep a log. Even if it's the training plan that you just printed out and you do a little smiley face or just a little comment on how your run went, ideally, your log would have paces in it, how you felt, the route, what the weather was, what you were wearing for that weather, what shoes you were wearing at that time, if you had any kind of aches and pains coming up. Because if you have any problem along the way, the entire coaching staff is here. You show up with a log and say, my knee hurts, there's a good chance we can just look at it and say, you've had too many miles in your shoes. You've been pushing a little too hard on your Monday runs, that's why your Wednesdays are not quality. So if you can keep a log, if anybody's an accountant in here and can keep a massive spreadsheet, we love you. And Glenn will talk a little more now about all the quality type runs and the pace that we're looking at.
Outstanding. I'm going to pick up overlap to just bring us into these quality runs. So Scott was talking about how our season is divided up. Lovely chart, I bring it everywhere I go. I just created, we're in essence following like a pyramid. We've been down here in the space building. Just going out, putting mileage on our feet, getting our bones, our muscles used to being out there for a period of time. We are not ending, if you see, in the pyramid, that doesn't end, and that's what Scott was talking about, that we're going to continue on some of these long runs. But what are we doing now? We're going to enter a next phase. And what is that? We're going to start varying our paces. And we're going to start doing other workouts that start to stress other parts of our body. So I'm not going to get into the full science here, but let me just, for those who came, I talked about this all at the last practice. So let's, which is a very common mistake and that I find in a lot of even experienced runners. So runner A is running 9:40 on Monday, goes out on Tuesday, does their run. They do it at 9:40 again. Go on Wednesday, they run 9:40. Thursday, run 9:40. Take Friday off, go race on Saturday. What do you think the body's going to want to do? 9:40. Your body does get used to and goes into a comfort zone. And what you're not doing, there's multiple things wrong with that program. And first, just the logical is just that that's where you're naturally going to go off in just that pace. And if you try to push it a little more, you're going to go, oh my God. So what we're doing now is varying. And one of the other main reasons of varying that we talk about that's in that handout that I prepared is a training plan is based upon stress and recovery. And that's what Scott was talking about. So you have a hard day. Well, hard can be a higher mileage or a faster day, and then an easy day. And what it does is you stress the body, you allow it to recover, and that's the only way you get stronger as a runner, or you get stronger if you're in the gym. You know, anyone ever do weights at any club or in a gym? They tell you never work the same part of your body consecutive days. Maybe do your upper body, then do your lower. Why? You want those muscles to recover. If you don't allow them to recover, so let's go back to our original runner. They're not 9:40. They're going out and they're running 7-minute pace every single workout. And then they say, Coach, I'm not getting faster. I'm stuck at that 7 minutes. And every day I go out and I push myself and I do my 7-minute run. Well, what's missing from that person's plan? He's going slower. So sometimes to go faster, you've got to pull back the reins on certain days and go slower. So what are we going to do? What are we all going to do now that we're going to start varying paces? What are we going to start doing in practices? Well, there's different types of runs that we will now start interjecting into the training plan, and these are going to be on Wednesday. And though it's being taped, and those of us who are not here, those of you who are not here, you can follow along with us with the plans and do the same exact thing. So one of the main staples that we're going to start to vary on now and do are what's called tempo runs. And what are tempo runs? Tempo runs are going to be runs that are basically done at about a 10K to a half marathon pace. But wait, I see a few people looking at me like, how do I know what my 10K to half marathon pace? Great question. Well, what are we going to do, and those who are not here, what we would like for you to do, on Wednesday, we're going to have a 5K time trial. And this is not to say, oh, we're going to give a little trophy to the person who's the fastest in there. And look, no, the purpose behind that is because now that we're getting into the speed work, we are going to give you a tool, and that is your time, to say, now, what should my paces be? You know, so many people come up to the coaches and they ask us, oh, I'm running my training pace at, whatever, 9:30. What could I do a half marathon in? What could I do a marathon in? That's asking the tail to wag the dog. What you need to do is say, Coach, I ran a half marathon in 2 hours. Or I ran a 10K. What should my training paces be? We always want to take training paces off close to a full effort, a race pace, and that's why we're doing a time trial. So on that handout, again, that I gave you, are two websites where you can get training paces off of a race. So if you're not here with us and can't do the 5K on Wednesday, you can go to one of these sites, and there are other ones on the internet. They are going to vary to a degree. They're all not going to be uniform. But they are within a pretty standard range. But if you actually look at that sheet, and I have tables on there, you can see the variations that go on. You can see of someone who, and I'll take for an example, let's take the 23-minute 5K person. Their recovery runs are going to be at 10-minute. Their tempos are at 7:47 to 8, and when they're doing their long runs, they're at 9 to 10. So you see how we're varying. We want you to vary your paces. So what else besides tempo runs are we going to do? Well, you have tempo in there, back to front, is something else called intervals. Intervals can be done various ways. We might have you do mile repeats. We might have something that's called fartlek. You're going to start learning terminology that you've never heard that's part of the running community now that you're all runners. Fartlek is Swedish for speed play. And what is it? We can do it many different ways. We can sit there and a coach can blow a whistle. One whistle, you go fast. 2 whistles, you slow down the pace. It's just going on a run and changing up the pace throughout the run. Another thing we're going to start to interject part of this speed is to add strength. And how are we going to add strength? Hill workouts. New York City Marathon, those of you who haven't been told, is not a flat course. So if you signed up for the flat course one, sorry, it wasn't New York. But one of the benefits that you have that you're here is we have Central Park. And Central Park is not flat. Those of you who are not in New York, you have to find areas to run on that are going to give you hills within the middle of your runs. Or, like on Wednesdays, we're going to do specific workouts that will have hill repeats in them. And also doing this, the hill repeats and then even shorter work is going to do something else. And that's going to work on your running economy. So besides making you faster, varying the paces, in that respect, it's more difficult if you're going up a hill and you have bad form, and you're doing like this, and you're transferring your weight side to side, and us as coaches see that, or online you have someone else ask you or write to one of us. But when you're going up a hill, you naturally start to do better form. You'll use your arms more. So if we get you guys to do that during these practices that we're going to start interjecting now, that will help on your form. So this is what you have to look forward to. It's the next phase of training. We look forward to working. If you have questions on paces or anything, talk to any of the coaches. That's what we're here for.
Thank you, coaches. Thank you all for bearing with us. I know it's hot in this room. We're going to open it up for questions, and then we're going to have our raffle. Then we can all move into that room, which is a lot cooler. So do we want to break the questions out into specifics or just random? All right, let's shout out a question. Who's got a question? No question? Yeah, Gary, you raised his hand first.
Oh,
okay. David.
So, what if you have a target pace you would like to hit that you know that you are not yet, able to do, but you would like to run a marathon in 4 hours?
Okay. We both can add it. First, and why I also said we both can add it. We tried also here. We talk amongst the coaches ourselves, and this is a little off. to put forth the same philosophy, but one thing is to realize, no training plan should be written in stone, and that's why we always tell if you're having a problem, talk to us, we can adapt it for you. So there is different philosophies, but specifically to what you say, is you could have a goal, but if you came to me and you said, well, my half marathon, Glenn, is 2 hours, and I want to run a 3-hour marathon. I got to sit you down and say, David, if my eyesight,
Hold on.
is it David?
You got it.
Okay. Right now, and I'm not saying you can't, and I don't know your history or anything, I might say that's not realistic. You have, like I said, the tail can't wear the dog. So if you say you want to start doing paces that are more akin to a 3-hour marathon, well, you might get yourself injured. We have to see the progress of working with you. So but the way to get there is the tempo runs, is the speed work. Anyone here who's never done that, who's just gone out, you are going to see tremendous improvement in your running and in your times when you interject that in. So, like I say, if you have your target, we can work with the coaches, and especially when we get into the long runs, we can play if you're an experienced runner, we can work with you on giving you certain things within your long runs or during the week to bring you closer. But again, without knowing the time, it's hard to say, yeah. But I want to just mention, I'm sorry, I don't want to take up, but this is probably something very, I know, very, very important, time. And this is from coaches who've been here for a while. My biggest mistake, and I was told this before I started, do not do your first marathon worrying about time. And that's why now she's going to let me say this. Now I can give my 1 minute little point on this.
10 seconds.
Okay, 10 seconds. Don't worry about time. It's your first marathon. I went out worrying about my time, and it wasn't my best experience in a marathon. And that was because I went out for time. Let this be fun. You are going to put in the time and effort.
Don't wear a watch.
Enjoy it out there. Those who are doing second, there's plenty of times. I'm telling from being a coach here for 5 years, is a large percentage go on and do other marathons after. That's when you do it. Enjoy this one. So, I'm sorry if I took too much time.
If we pre-training for a marathon have strength training as part of our regular schedule, can we, for example, do it 3 times a week? Do I keep doing that, or taper down towards the end, or stop it altogether?
It's finding the balance. It's not necessarily stopping it completely. Strength training, cross training, some people who swim regularly, it's a fantastic addition to running. It may even be a replacement for potentially your Monday run. If you're swimming, strength training might be a replacement for your Thursday run, depending on what type of kind of program you're doing, either at the gym, alone, or with a trainer. It's a great addition. It's just the only concern comes later when that chunk we were talking about, where you're really adding the distance, you're really stressing the body, and that's the time that you need to both let the coaches know, as well as talk with, if you're working with a trainer at a gym, that these next 4 weeks are kind of my tough body weeks, and have then back the intensity down to make sure you can complete the long runs. Again, if your long runs are going well, you're getting your runs in, absolutely supplementing it with swimming and cycling or strength training is fantastic.
Yes.
I can't imagine staying hydrated, drinking out of those little cups, so I'd like to carry fluids with me and maybe have some friends along the way. Any suggestions on
You're gonna have
fuel
friends
belts
run 26 miles
or- Well, not
carrying
friends, you know,
fluid
friends
for
along the
That's
way.
what we're gonna end up doing, yeah.
Very good friend.
But any suggestions about, hydration vests or fuel belts or?
I don't think there's a vest, that's a new idea, but they
Well,
do have, the vest will keep you cool,
Nathan has a vest like you put, like.
Yeah,
the
now
inserts
that they're
in.
starting to,
Yeah.
so there are 3 main options: the camelback option, which is more of a traditional like hiker, long-term cyclist. You can run with them, they're big, they're bulky, but it's an option for, if you're afraid you're not gonna get in enough. The most common options are these fuel belts. It's not really the most comfortable, but I've got them and we train with them. It's like this belt that you wear around, and they have these bottles that have 8 or 10 ounces, and you can put 2 or 4 or 6, or I do have the one that you can put 8 bottles. If I wanna go run really far in the woods and not talk to anybody and come on back, it's worth it, so you can do those. The other things that people like a lot are the bottles that have the little holder in your hand, so it makes it easier. You try to run holding, if this was a bottle, it gets kind of annoying after a while, but if you have that Velcro strap that hooks right on, that tends to help, and those don't feel so cumbersome, especially, if you counterbalance them. So those are options. The things I don't like about the Camelback is you either have sports drink or water, so you can't switch ever, and they get pretty heavy, but you can do any of those will all work.
and there's plenty of time to practice with them. So as we get into early, just practice. Questions? Yes.
Do you have a list possibly of some suggested routes for long runs?
Yes, later on, tell us where you live, we'll get you some routes.
Okay.
Another
Just
great.
like in all the boroughs.
Yeah,
like-
another great
Yeah.
resource is usatf.org, which is USA Track and Field.
Okay.
Bottom of it has a little map of the United States that says, like, map your route. If you go on that, you can map your route. It actually pulls off Google Maps. But the second half of that is anyone who's been on there before can save their route. So you can literally type in 8 to 10 miles in Brooklyn, and you'll get several thousand routes that other people have done. Now, we take no responsibility if those routes are running through.
Where do you live?
I live in Brooklyn, but I'd like to be able to kind of like run
Yeah.
all over because we're gonna be running.
Yeah, we can definitely help you with
Okay.
that. Is there, yes.
I have two questions. One, the use of a treadmill, like how advisable and not advisable is it in your training, especially in those days that are like 1,000 degrees? And the other is my neighborhood's very hilly, so how does that work with the tempo runs and like, do I just do it in the hills?
I'll take the first half and let Glenn have the second half on the tempo runs. Treadmills, if you need to use it, they're there. If you do everything you can to get out, if it's gonna be a hot day, like Gail was saying, try to get out in the morning before you go to work. That extra hour that you have to get up may be worth it, both from the physiological side of it. A treadmill's gonna give you a forced motion, it's gonna change what you're doing naturally. Also, you're not gonna run your natural pace, kind of quickening and slowing that you normally do on a run. Also, rainy days, if you're planning on running after work at 6 o'clock and it starts downpouring, go run in the rain. Because there's no guarantees. Marathon morning is gonna be, 47 degrees and overcast. So, and by the way, that's ideal what we want. So if it's raining, go in the rain. If it's downpouring, just run in the downpour or give it a few minutes to settle. Because come marathon day, it will never be as bad as a training run that you did in the heat, in the cold, in the rain.
Those who are watching the Olympic trials, it's rained every single day during the Olympic trials, and actually the high jumper, who almost didn't make the team, who had the standard, he came in 4th, but the guy who came in 3rd didn't have the standard to get to the Olympics, said now, every time it rains, he's gonna go out. He avoided it. He wasn't prepared to do the jumping in the rain, so that's the Scott point. Hills is a very good question if it's very hilly. You don't want it to be so exhausting you can't get into a good pace. But when we take your time, your 5K may have been Coogan's. That's, the Coogan's run that goes more, that's not exactly a flat 5K. So depending upon what you input into one of those calculators too, is going to say, what your pace should be. Don't be glued into that exact pace, and that's one reason why I personally like McMillan's calculator better than Runner's World, because Runner's World gives you a singular pace, just one number. McMillan gives you a range, but don't fret if you're slightly outside or the range. The main point is to vary your paces and to say, I'm going faster.
Okay, we'll take one more official question, and then we're gonna do our raffle, and then we can continue questions in the other room. What's burning question? Yes.
Are there any devices to calculate your pace, like watches or things like that you would
Kara,
recommend?
you sell all that stuff. What do you suggest?
Me too. There are lots of watches that are GPS, which will tell you your pace and how many miles you've run. Nothing is 100% accurate, which is what everybody wants for it to be, especially when it's something so gadgety. But there are lots of them out there. They're making them a little bit smaller and a little bit easier to use. So something worth checking out. Timex makes one that's really affordable. That's really good quality. Garmin makes a huge range. If you're a gadgety person, I don't even know the extent of what some of them do anymore. But there's some really basic ones and some really techy ones. But try them on, see how they feel.
There's also some apps for the phones.
There are phone apps as well. Yeah, it's not going to be as accurate.
All right, we're gonna do our raffle, and then we're gonna
Anyone
break
not-
and go in for some food. But
Get a raffle
before
ticket?
that, I just want to thank you all for coming. I want you to know
Anyone
that
else?
we are here for you. We are here. We are so happy that you joined Team for Kids. We want to make this journey the most special day of your life. Questions, please forward them. The coaches are here at workouts by email. Anything you need, we want to answer. We want your day to be life-changing for not only you but our kids. And we're going to share the next 4 months together. So let's enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's gonna win the?
All right, so everyone gets the same relative thing tonight. Everyone's gonna get TFK socks. Don't laugh at them till you wear them. They're apparently very comfortable. We also have the Fred LeBeau thumb drive. And don't judge us when you decapitate Fred LeBeau to use it. And then everyone also who wins is gonna get a training t-shirt. Come see me after and we'll let you choose between gray and blue and your size. All right, we got 5. Sarah.
502064.
064. Woo!
Dang. 502077.
077. All right.
090. Last 3 digits.
All right. Is everyone getting their first sweat test in tonight?
Last 3 numbers are 078.
All right. This side of the room is.
As long as it went by 1, I thought there's no way I'm gonna.
And last one.
Last but not least. 101.
Oh.
And at the back. Awesome. And Mary, do you want to say anything?
Yes.
I'm taking a photo so I can
Mary
put it on
Wittenberg,
Twitter, you know, and
the ultimate race director and
show all
president.
of you here learning. But I just I've gotten to see some of you along the way in training and otherwise. But we're just really simply ecstatic to have you running with Team for Kids, and want to thank you for your incredible support. I'm sure you heard we're pretty sky high. We just closed the school year on Friday with 750 schools, 150,000 kids who ran 4 million miles. So
It's a lot longer than marathon.
that is like 89% from Team for Kids. It makes all the difference in our ability to get kids running throughout the city, throughout the nation, and even beyond. So we thank you for your support, and we're really excited for each of you. It's getting to be, it's getting to be training time. So enjoy. You've got great experts here. We thank you guys. You've always been so good to us, all of you. And we're just excited for you. So as Gail said, lean on this team. That's what everybody is here for. And you should feel that you get extra added access and support. That's part of our deal. So use it and have fun all along the way.
And you'll hear her on November, the day you run the marathon, saying, "Are you ready to run?" And everyone will say, "Yes!"
You guys will be ready, so it'll be fun.
So we'll continue in here. There's some food. We can answer more questions and just mingle and get to know each other better.
If anyone needs the restrooms, they're just outside to the left.
Practice tomorrow night at 6:30. We're doing the 5K time trial Saturday at 8 o'clock at 61st Street. Right on half.